Let's dive straight into it now. Joining me now is political journalist John Fund. John, thanks so much for joining us on the U.S. Report. And Joe Biden is going to be wanting to use some momentum from the Democrats' strong election night results this week to turn things around for himself. But talk us through what's going on here, because polling numbers aren't in his favor. According to a New York Times Siena poll, President Biden is trailing Trump in 5 of the 6 most important battleground states, suffering from enormous doubts about his age and deep dissatisfaction over his handling of the economy and the direction of the economy. John, talk us through what happened. Where did Democrats have a good night this week? And does any of that at all help Joe Biden?
In Kentucky, the Democratic governor was able to convince voters that he was a moderate. Incumbents always have an advantage, and he won 52% of the vote. In Virginia, the Democrats outspent the Republicans, enormous union money, and they had some support from moderate pro-choice Republicans on the issue of abortion, and they got just over 50% of the vote and 51% of the legislative seats, and that's enough for a majority. There were other places where they didn't do as well. So Democrats individually around the country did well on Tuesday in most cases, but that completely separate issue is what President Biden does with that, because the same voters who often voted for Democrats tell people in the poll that you just cited they don't want Biden. 71% of voters in that poll said Biden is too old to be president. 62% said he was not mentally alert. And 51% of Democrats agreed with that. A majority of Democrats do not believe he should be their nominee or their president.
I want to play a little grab from this panel of ABC panelists here talking about this. Have a listen. I want to get your reaction.
This is probably going to lead to a lot of Democrats increasing the chatter that Joe Biden should step aside and make room for another Democrat.
And I think the problem that Democrats have is they don't know who that Democrat would be right now.
Is this another nail in the coffin of Joe Biden's hopes to be even on the ticket next November? And if so, John Fund, who do you think could plausibly step in and take that role?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that if Joe Biden had not picked Kamala Harris as his vice president, the talk about removing Biden wouldn't be talk. He would have already been removed. A delegation would have gone up to the White House and said, you know, here's your gold watch, time to go home. But Kamala Harris fares even worse against Republicans if she's the Democratic nominee in polls. Therefore, the Democrats have a problem. What is it in The Sound of Music? There's a song saying, what do you do about a problem called Maria? What do you do about a problem called Kamala? And if they can find a way to ease her out or think they can beat her in the primaries or have the delegates override her candidacy at the convention, they'll do it. I believe the Democrats will not go to someone like Governor Gavin Newsom, a boring white male. They'll probably go to someone, if they don't have Kamala, that will placate some of the constituencies in their party. Remember, 63% of Democrats who vote in primaries are either women or minorities. Therefore, I think Governor Gretchen Whitmer is probably the sweet spot. She's from a swing state, Michigan. She's been elected twice. She's a woman, and she's very combative, and certainly not old.
And John, walk us through this here, because we've talked a couple of times on this program before with various guests about how this could work and how superdelegates at that Democrat convention, I think August, could at that late hour decide to make a change. Would Democrats accept that if it had that sort of smoke-filled room kind of feel of, well, we've all voted, but no, here's your person?
Well, if the alternative is to lose power or have Joe Biden potentially fall and not get up, or completely be a disaster in the various 3 debates that he has to have with Republican candidates, then I think they'll do anything. Remember, the Democratic Party has shown consistently that it will erase every rule, it will blur every distinction, it will change every narrative in order to secure and keep power. Republicans, to some extent, the same. So whatever is necessary, they will do if they believe that Biden is more of a risk than a benefit to them.